and salutations, lads and lasses. It's been a little while, but I am back. Not only with reviews, but with Doctor Who reviews. It's been about 3 years since I've reviewed anything Who-esque. And that's far too long. And really, it's something I need to address the balance of. Yes, I do have a brand spanking new Doctor Who shirt. Thank you very much for asking. I do like it a lot. It's my era. But there you go. Why have I been away? Okay, well, I had a wisdom tooth extracted. There were complications. My face was out here. I've been on a lot of strong antibiotics. But I'm back now, so great stuff. I'm just in time because it is the third week this week of the brand new series of Doctor Who, season 8. Or season whatever, I think 20, 28, 29, something like that. I can't remember. The numbering system for Doctor Who series is a bit messed up in my head, but there you go. So, I have a SodaStream bottle full of lemon because I might need this. And we have 2 episodes already that have aired of Doctor Who season 8 with the brand new Doctor number 12, Peter Capaldi. We saw him twice last year, very, very briefly. Once in The Day of the Doctor, his eyebrows anyway, the attack eyebrows, we'll come on to those later. And obviously at the end of the time of the Doctor, when the Doctor regenerated. The story picks up basically from there, in Deep Breath, which was the first episode. Very, very quick overview before we go into what I thought of it. Opens with a dinosaur over London. Some people say, oh, it's not in scale. I don't care because, do you know what? It's a TV show about a guy who travels in a police box. I'll forgive it. Yeah, basically there's a dinosaur over Victorian London. The Paternoster gang are investigating for their own very much Inspector Lestrade. Who's not called Inspector Lestrade, but I forget what he's called because he didn't do much in the episode. But the Paternoster gang are back, which is Jenny, Strax and of course Madame Vastra. And the dinosaur coughs up the Tardis, which opens to reveal the Doctor as he is now, Doctor number 12, and very shaken Clara Oswald. Doctor's very first words that we see in the show are shush to Strax, who's acting ultra Sontaran in this episode. And basically the action picks up from there. The Doctor faints, as he is wont to do when he regenerates. And then the action picks up in Madame Vastra's house, where the Doctor basically is very, very angry that he's being kept essentially prisoner in bedroom, won't relax, won't calm down, won't go to sleep. And chases after the dinosaur, who abruptly bursts into flames. And it turns out that there are a number of spontaneous combustions being recorded in London, a number of murders, and it looks like they're being carried out by a set of body snatchers who appear to be robots who are stealing body parts to add to their own selves. Does this sound familiar yet? Well, that's not a coincidence, as we shall find out later. The Doctor basically has to come to terms with himself very much, and does so with the aid of a tramp called Barney, who interestingly enough was played by Elizabeth Sladen's husband, and also the guy he played, Doug Dale, in the Peter Davison adventure Snake Dance. So nice little Who sort of connection there, which is nice. The Doctor goes on about the fact that his face seems familiar. Well, of course it is. It's C. Silas's, or K. Killis's, from the fires of Pompeii, which is the one and only time that Peter Capaldi's been in Doctor Who. Oh wait, no it wasn't. He was also Frobisher in Torchwood. And both him and Clara are lured to a restaurant called Mancini's, which I'm sure there's some sort of connection there somehow. Henry Mancini? I don't know. Capaldi? I don't know. Italian restaurant? I don't know. So yeah, they're both lured there for body parts, but lured by who? Because it doesn't seem that it's the Clockwork Droids, and it is the Clockwork Droids that we've previously seen in Girl in the Fireplace, who have lured them there. We don't know whether it's them. Basically what they're doing, they've crashed again. This is the Marie Antoinette, the SS Marie Antoinette, sister ship of the Madame de Pompadour, which has crashed in Victorian time and is trying to get back to their own time. So they're stealing body parts again from people who are, but this time, unwilling victims. I think they were unwilling victims in the first one as well. So don't have clockwork droids, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a good idea to have clockwork droids, I don't think. But basically the Doctor and Clara have to work out why they're doing this. The Doctor leaves Clara to her fate, but doesn't, because it turns out he was hiding all along inside the mask of one of the robots. And yeah, fight scenes ensue with Vastra and Jenny and Strax, while the Doctor confronts the Clockwork Man and finds out, number one, why he's doing what he's doing, and number two, how he can stop him. The Doctor does stop him, though it's not clear how. Does the Doctor talk the guy into killing himself, or did the Doctor kill him? And then a good portion of the episode is sort of devoted to Clara coming to terms with the Doctor having changed, not being able to, and actually going out the TARDIS, whereupon she receives a phone call from Doctor 11, basically saying, please help me. I know I look different, but it is still me. I'm more terrified than you can possibly imagine. Help me, help me. To which, Doctor 12... And it's an interesting scene, I'll talk about it later, but Clara doesn't immediately make the connection that that's the Doctor. She does eventually make the connection, but not at first. So, I mean, it's a good episode for a first episode. A lot of people said, well, there wasn't much story involved, there wasn't much plot. I think that's because it wasn't really about the plot, it was about the characters involved, which is why you had something familiar like the Paternoster gang there to sort of have something familiar to latch on to. Because the Doctor is very different. He is not like number 11 at all, is Doctor number 12. He is a little bit dispassionate, he's a little bit unempathetic and unsympathetic. He doesn't really regard humans with the best of candour. He refers to them as the planet of the pudding brains, and sort of dismisses all of them out of hand at certain points. I won't go down the "ooh, he's dark" route, because I must admit I'm getting a bit sick of hearing that. I don't think he's any darker than some of the previous Doctors. That the problem is that Doctor number 11 wasn't as dark as some of the other Doctors. That's the problem. He was a little bit lighter, because he was... the whole of his personality, he was very much... I know people say he was like Troughton. I don't think he's like Troughton. I think the 11th Doctor is very much like Peter Davison. He's very much like the 5th Doctor. He's old, he's weary, he's tired of fighting for the universe, when it seems that it doesn't want to be fought for. And I think that world-weary oldness sort of weighs heavy on the character sometimes. He's a nice guy, whereas 12, he's rejuvenated. It's not the fact that he's just regenerated, he's been rejuvenated. So he's very much like his first persona. If you watch Unearthly Child, if you watch the Daleks, the first Doctor's a bit of a tool. He's not the nicest bloke ever. He is definitely the smartest person in the room, and he knows it, and it frustrates him that other people aren't. So he's very dismissive of people he feels aren't on his level, and that's very much the case in Deep Breath. He's very frustrated that he knows where he's going, he knows what he's doing, and nobody else seems to. The scenes with Barney confirm this. He knows he's seen the face before that he's got, and he doesn't know where it's come from, and it irks him that he doesn't know, and he can't remember. Similarly, it hurts him that he can't remember the connection between the Madame de Pompadour and a past experience. He knows that it rings a bell somewhere, but he can't quite remember where. And I think that's very interesting. That, we've sort of seen this before in past incarnations. The fact that, because they are different men, they do have different experiences, and those different experiences are sometimes lost and muddied. It's kind of like you dreamt them, I think it's been described before. It's the same with this Doctor. So he's not got the patience. He's not got the immediate likability. Basically, the experiment that John Nathan Turner tried in 1984 has actually happened. And we've got a Doctor now where people are... This is what kind of annoys me. People are hailing this Doctor as brilliant and wise and amazing. And they say about Colin Baker, oh, it's not as nice as the 5th one. But, it's nice that we've got it, and perhaps it was the clothes that did it, because now we've got a Doctor who dresses in darker clothes, it kind of works. But don't for 1 second think that he's going down a darker route. The Doctor's always been dark. Tane was extremely dark. If you watch some of his episodes, there are really dark moments. One of the best ones is in the Family of Blood. When he doesn't kill the Family of Blood, he does something much, much worse to them. Or Eccleston's Doctor was extremely dark at certain points in the first half of his series. you know. And in the first half of his series, again, we didn't know too much about him. And it's the same with this Doctor. 2 episodes in, we really don't know who this guy is. And to be fair, it would seem that he doesn't, as we'll find out in the second episode. So the Paternoster gang are back, which is great. Really happy about that. Vastra, obviously everybody loves a bit of Vastra. Strax, everyone's favourite, and then Jenny, my personal favourite. Do you want to know why? I'll tell you anyway. Jenny doesn't have the advantage of being a Silurian who knew all about technology and other galaxies and blah blah blah. She doesn't have the ability or the strength of Strax, who obviously he's seen the universe as Strax, as a Sontaran warrior. Jenny's just a girl. Yeah, and I say that in no disparaging way at all. She, in the same vein as Flash Gordon was just a man with a man's courage. Jenny is just a girl with a girl's courage. She's amazing because of that. She walks and runs it headlong into situations where she, you know, most people would be scared to, and she's absolutely on top, the best person in the room when she does so. I love Jenny. She's a great character. I do agree with people that maybe they could have toned down, not the lesbianism. I don't have an issue with that because I love the fact that there is a really strong married lesbian couple in Doctor Who. That's great. Why mention it all the time? We don't need to know. We know Jenny and Vastra enough at this point to know that they are really thicker than blood. You know, they are together. They are in love. They love each other. I don't need to be reminded every 5 seconds that they're married. So script editing would have sorted that out. I don't have an issue with the lesbian kiss. That was kind of cool, actually. I was kind of stealth lesbian kiss. Oh yeah, she's sharing my hair. But then again, that's if you think about it, that is one of the most romantic and open-hearted things that you could ever do for one person. Is give them your air, share your oxygen with them, share your lifeblood almost. You know, therefore showing that they are a steady, rock-solid couple who would do anything for each other, who would die for each other. It's also backed up in a great line when, you know, if you liked Vastra and she changed her face, would it make a difference? And Jenny says, I don't like her, I love her. You know, so it wouldn't matter to me what she looks like. It's still Vastra. Speaking of which, speaking of looks and Vastra, this is a really good scene. The scene where Vastra basically confronts Jenny when she's got a veil on and saying, not Jenny, Clara, confronts Clara and basically says, the Doctor is the Doctor no matter what face he has on. He was putting the original 11th Doctor face on for your benefit because he's so old he's walked in eternity. I sort of read that on 2 levels. One level is Clara, Vastra and Jenny. The other level is Clara represents new Who fans. And believe me, Moffat's done this before because he did it with Sherlock, with the different fan theories, when he had all the fan fiction writers. Clara represents new Who fans who were accused, unfairly I feel, of abandoning the series, or would abandon the series when they had a new Doctor because he isn't hot. He's not Taylor Lautner, he's not Robert Pattinson, you know, that kind of bullshit that I don't believe would ever. You have a few people who leave the series when the Doctor changes his face, but you got that in 1983, you got that in 1974. That happened all the time. The backlash that Peter Davison got when he was Doctor was amazing, and if you weren't there, you probably don't know. But a lot of people abandoned the series and said, oh, it's not Tom Baker, so I'm not interested in it anymore. But anyway, so yeah, Clara represents new Who, Vastra, old Who. I think Vastra was obviously making the argument that it doesn't matter what face he's got on, he's still the Doctor. Don't abandon him because of that. And I think Moffat kind of knows the score with new Who fans because the first thing he did was have Clara say, how dare you? Why would I abandon him just because he's changed his face, he's older? I think that scene is very crucial to everything, including, you know, the fandom, because I don't think a lot of new Who fans will abandon it. In fact, I know they won't, because you see it on YouTube, you see the reaction videos, you see people like Lip Manette, who is a Doctor Who reviewer, and other Doctor Who reviewers as well. And they're all excited for the series, they're all reviewing the series online, you can find all their reviews there. They don't care that he's changed his face and looks older. I think what Clara was saying when she said, oh, he looks older, why does he look older? is it doesn't make sense that he's older. But you obviously Vastra clear that up by saying, you know, he is old. You know, he's not as... They're playing it as he's not as friendly to people as he once was, which is why he's got the older face. Plus, he trusts Clara to stay with him no matter what face he's got. So that was a very important scene. Some great bits of business with Strax and Clara, especially during the times at her head and knocking her out. That was amazing. That was really funny. The Strax still not grasping anything. You know, still not grasping human society and you know, melt him with acid. No, we're not going to do that. Old habits die hard. We will not melt him with acid. Strax is a great character. Dan Stark is amazing playing Strax. I really enjoy it whenever he's around. Gotta be said, the Clockwork Man was brilliant. What a great character. It's a reverse Cyberman situation. You've got a character here who was just a droid at one point in his life, but has added so much human bits to himself, so many human parts, that he is slowly becoming human, to the point that he believes that heaven exists, or paradise, or the promised land, and he's desperately trying to repair his ship so he can get to the promised land, wherever that may be. The Doctor stating unreservedly, there is no promised land. You will not get there because it doesn't exist. Some really good interaction with the Doctor and the Clockwork Man. You know, just the fact that the Clockwork Man doesn't... He still thinks himself as a robot, but kind of knows that he isn't. And I find that very, very interesting. Again, I don't know if that's going to tie into any Cyberman episodes, because there are some, I think after Robot of Sherwood, I think is a Cyberman episode. I don't know whether that'll tie into it or not. It'd be interesting if it did. But this whole sort of metaphysical conversation of whether heaven exists or not was very, very interesting. You know, the fact that this Doctor completely doesn't believe in anything but what he can see, which it's not something that other Doctors have believed. So this Doctor is very, very diagnostic. Very, if you can't, you know, if you can see it, if you can touch it, then it exists, and if it doesn't, then I don't believe it. So yeah, you've also got that question of did the Clockwork Man jump, or was he pushed? Certainly the Doctor made it clear that he wouldn't shy away from that. Basically, you know, I love the bit with how's the view? What does the view look like? And he says, oh, it's beautiful. I said, no, it's not. Beautiful is down there. There are thousands of people down there. Don't think for a second that I wouldn't do something awful to protect them. Or I think he actually says, you know, you don't know how far I would go to protect them. You know, don't underestimate me. I will do it. I will do something terrible. The whole thing, you know, pouring the whiskey out and saying, you want a drink because I've got this horrible feeling I'm going to kill you. That is amazing, and that just sets the Doctor's soul out so much. So yeah, you've also got the revelation at the end. The two major things happen at the end. The first one was a surprise appearance of Doctor Number 11. Again, Moffat basically telling the younger fandom, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You know, getting the 11th Doctor to basically endorse the 12th. And such a clever setup from the time of the Doctor. Where that little throwaway putting the phone back in the TARDIS, and it turning out that it was the Doctor who'd been using the phone all along. Very clever, very, very clever. And, you know, really nice to see 11 back again, even for just a little bit. But also that thing of, you know, Clara saying to 12, were you listening in? And he said, I wasn't listening in. I was there. I made the phone call. You know, and that heartbreaking bit. And it really is heartbreaking when he says, you can't see it, can you? You can't see me. I'm right here in front of you, and you can't see me. And, you know, Clara eventually seeing the Doctor and hugging him, and the fact that I don't think I'm a hugging person anymore. But it was so heartbreaking and so sad almost that she was right in front of him, and she couldn't see that the Doctor was there. You know, and the other thing about, you know, with him saying, I'm not your boyfriend, and she's saying, well, I didn't think you were. And the Doctor coming back and saying, well, I'm not saying you made that mistake. Again, very, very clever by Moffat. So, you know, Clara's final acceptance of the Doctor. Really good, really well played. I also like the fact that we have, I don't even know if she's a villain, but Missy. Played ably by Michelle Gomez, who I love. I love Michelle Gomez. She's great. Seems to be batshit crazy as well. I mean, why are all these people getting transported to heaven, as she calls it? Interestingly enough, it seems to be the same garden as was in The Girl Who Waited, where Amy Pond was captured by the medical bots there. It seems to be the same place, but I'm not sure about that one. There's a lot of theories saying that Missy's possibly the Rani. Possibly. I'll throw in another one there. What if it's Amy? Because alternate Amy was actually thrown in there. But back in that reality. So she was actually kept in that reality. What if that reality stayed and that's Amy Pond? An older version of Amy Pond? Probably not. Probably not. Don't take that as gospel at all. But it could be. It'd be interesting. I will take a bit of a water break at the moment. Oh, that's cold. Yeah, so then we've got into the Dalek, which is a completely different proposition. I will say, both directed by Ben Wheatley, the guy who did A Field in England and a few other things. Very well directed. I want Ben Wheatley to do more, please, because they're both very distinctive and they're both very strange and a departure, directorial-wise, than what we've had before. It's hard to put your finger on it, but the shots are different, the action's a little bit different. Things are sort of framed in a different way than maybe they were before. And I like it. I like it a lot. More, please. But I like the fact that Into the Dalek, I was excited anyway because it has two of my favourite actors in it, in Zoe Ashton and Michael Smiley. I love Michael Smiley. For those who don't know or don't recognise him, anybody who's seen Spaced and remembers the character of Tyres, that's Michael Smiley. He looks completely different, mainly because he had his nose fixed and his teeth fixed, and he's got a beard now, and he's not got these fucking moose fangs. So yeah, really, really good comedian, really good actor as well. He's been in quite a few things, including A Field in England, which I'm assuming helped him get the gig here. And Zoe Ashton, obviously brilliant in Fresh Meat, a really, really good young actress, and I liked her in everything I've ever seen her in, so I was very excited, and she didn't disappoint. Basically, Into the Dalek is Fantastic Voyage and a few other things thrown in for good measure. It turns out that a Dalek seems to be good, and they need a doctor to sort him out. It just so happens that Journey Blue, played by Zoe Ashton, is rescued by the doctor from a Dalek attack, and saves his life and says he's a doctor, don't kill him, because they were going to kill him because all interlopers, anyone who isn't recognised, is killed on this spaceship. Whatever it was called. I've forgotten because it doesn't matter. It'll come to me. Aristotle, there you go. The Aristotle it was. So she saves his life, says he's a doctor, he can help. So the doctor goes back in time, picks up Clara, brings her back, and the team go inside the Dalek, get miniaturised, go inside the Dalek to find out why the Dalek is apparently good. Turns out the Dalek isn't good at all, it's just malfunctioning. It's got a cracked radiation cell, which is basically poisoning in its mind. So the Doctor gets all pissed off and says, well, I was right. The Daleks try to exterminate everybody on the ship and calls up the Dalek ship and tells them where the ship, the Aristotle is. Keep saying ship a lot. And it turns out that the Dalek can be turned good, but needs some of its memories turning back on. So while Journey Blue and Clara sort that out, the Doctor goes to the Dalek and gets inside its mind to try and show it the splendour of the universe, because one of the reasons that the Dalek had decided to turn its back on the Daleks is it saw a star being born and realised that their whole tenet, the whole Dalek way of life was completely wrong and could never work because life always finds a way, to quote Ian Malcolm. However, there is a problem, and the problem is the Doctor, because the Doctor hates the Dalek so much. The Dalek takes that as meaning that is the meaning of life, and decides to become a Dalek killer itself, destroying all the Daleks on the Aristotle and joining the Dalek fleet to basically destroy from within. Wondering why the Doctor's not happy. The Dalek says this is a victory. The Doctor says it's not a victory for me. I thought you were a good Dalek. The Dalek saying, called Rusty, by the way. Rusty says to the Doctor, but you are a good Dalek, depressing the Doctor even more. Journey Blue asks to come along. The Doctor says, if you were anything but a soldier, probably, which is going to be interesting because Danny Pink apparently is becoming a companion. We met him this week. He is a soldier. He has killed soldiers and doesn't feel too bad about that, but apparently he's also called a lady killer because it turns out he might have killed a civilian, and he had a bit of a cry about that. But there was also a little spark between him and Clara, which was nice to see. Okay, so into the Dalek. Best Dalek episode since Asylum, and the reason the Asylum was so good is because of Oswin, which is Clara, and again Clara shines in this episode. In the previous episode she'd shone because she showed that even when she was up against it, even when she was being threatened with death, she would still talk back. She would still, even though terrified, be a force to contend with. And again, this proved that more than anything, is that Clara is a brilliant character that, you know, she's shining in these 2 episodes, more so than she shined in the whole of last season. It's really, really good to see how well the writers are dealing with Clara, making her not sassy by committee. She is a character who is just a good character, not just because she's sassy. She's a talker. The fact that she slaps the taste out of the Doctor's mouth for being all smug and self-righteous about there never being a good Dalek. Brilliant, you know. And the Doctor realises it. So Zoe Ashton really good. Michael Smiley brilliant as always. It had a very old style feel to it, this episode, you know, and a very philosophical question. What makes a good Dalek? Is it a Dalek who is good, or is it a Dalek who is good as what he does? And it turns out that a good Dalek is one that can exterminate the most things. You don't have to be a Dalek to do that, which is why the Dalek thinks that the Doctor's a good Dalek. Also, interesting, it's called Rusty. It's what a lot of people refer to Russell T Davies as. So I'm wondering if there's... I don't think it's a slight dig, but maybe is a bit of a ball-breaking session between Moffat and Russell T Davies there. I don't know. But I would like to think that it's maybe a nice homage. Really good set design on this one. Really good interiors for the Dalek. Gives the Doctor something to do, and also gives Clara a lot to do as well. It's very action orientated, is this episode, but it also shows certain things about the Doctor that he won't be messed with, and that he is discompassionate. He's not as empathetic as Matt Smith's Doctor was. For instance, Ross, one of the soldiers who goes into the Dalek with them, miniaturized, he inadvertently sets the antibodies of the Dalek onto everybody, and the Doctor knows from that moment on he's a dead man. But to track where they send his dead body, he gets him to eat part of the Dalek so he can track it with his sonic screwdriver. Doesn't tell anybody, asks Ross to trust him. Ross dies, and obviously Journey Blue says, you know, he was dead, he trusted you. To which the Doctor says he was dead already. I was saving us. You know, I mean, I think of that as fair enough, really, but obviously it's not really the social etiquette. The line that did make me laugh is when they finally go to where the dead bodies are kept, the protein for the Dalek sustenance. You know, is Ross here? The Doctor says, yeah, he's the top layer if you want to say a few words. Yeah, I can't see Matt Smith's Doctor saying that. I could possibly see Ten saying that, which is the weird thing, because Ten's supposed to be the most human of the Doctors, but I can totally see him saying that. Certainly Eccleston. And certainly John Pertwee. So, you know, he has got a lot in common with some Doctors there. But again, like I say, Clara smacks him. Clara slaps him in the face because, you know, for a moment he's quite willing to be a bit grumpy and pissed off and basically resign them all to their fate and say, you know, I was right all along. This is what I said. And that's very first Doctor. Very first Doctor is that. So we're getting to know a little bit more about him. But like I say, this was very much an action-orientated episode with a few philosophical questions in there. You know, can a Dalek override its basic hate programming? And the Doctor says himself, you know, they're born hating. That's the whole genetic makeup of a Dalek. You know, Davros tweaked them so that they would hate everything. So can you change its basic makeup by changing a few of its memories? And the answer is no. It will always find something that it has to hate and exterminate. That's what Daleks do. But in the case of Rusty, its parameters have been changed and it is a Dalek, or at least is on the human side. It'd be interesting if we see him again, and I kind of hope we do, because I'd like to see how he progresses. We kind of had it with Dalek Khan years ago now at Journey's End. And I really like the idea of Dalek Khan, but he came to that conclusion himself, whereas Rusty was a malfunction that helped it. Also, Rusty gives the Doctor the stink eye as well. So yeah, like I say, Journey decides she wants to travel in the TARDIS, but the Doctor just dismisses her straight away and says, you know, I'm sure you're a good person. I know full well you're a brave person, but you're a soldier. So, and just walks in the TARDIS and goes away. Which, like I say, is going to be interesting because Danny Pink, really, really well played this week. I like the character already. We only found out the tiniest little bit about him, but he's very likeable. And it certainly seems that him and Clara have a nice spark. And I'm very interested to see how the Doctor will react to Danny and soldiers in general. I mean, we all know why the Doctor doesn't like soldiers. He was one, and he still regrets what he did. You know, he still regrets the lives taken, I'm guessing. Which is going to be interesting in a couple of weeks' time because he'll meet Unit again. So that's going to be interesting. Next week, this week, tomorrow, in fact, we see a lighter episode, apparently, Robot of Sherwood. It's going to be the first Mark Gatiss episode of the new era. Ben Miller's in it. I'm very excited. I like Ben Miller a lot. Armstrong and Miller are one of my favourite double acts of all time, and I love anything that they do. So it's interesting to see Ben Miller. It's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. It's going to be interesting to see how, in a sort of a lighter episode, that 12 reacts. I'm guessing he's going to be very grumpy about the whole thing. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Obviously, I shall be back in a couple of weeks to have a look at how the series is progressing and how the Doctor's going. Oh yeah, quick aside as well. Gretchen, one of the other soldiers who died, ended up in heaven with Missy in a very, very short scene. We're not having the season arc rammed down our throats as we've had done in the past. We're going to get very little short scenes of what's going to happen right at the end, I think, which is going to be very interesting. I'm very much looking forward to it. But we shall update you in a couple of weeks' time. It's been great talking Doctor Who again. So I'm definitely going to do this a lot more with old DVDs and obviously old series stuff as well. So keep an eye on my channel. I shall be back with a toy next week to see what we can have a look at. There's a few purchases I've made in the last sort of 6 months that I would like to show off. So keep it Who, keep it all the time. Take care of yourselves and each other. Bye bye for now.